The problem isn't just Donald Trump. That the problem is there is a bureaucracy in place that actually does not want to do the kind of things you need to do to control the threat.
Or the problem is that, I mean, I would counter by saying maybe the problem is that this cannot be countered, really, that there are some forces in human history and in the world which are very, very hard to contain. If you look at, you talked about Australia as a success story. They now have the military policing the streets to prevent people from moving anywhere. And they have 15% vaccination. They are under military control, basically, for the indefinite future. They have no freedoms, they have no ability.
So the vaccination is a whole nother story, but do they have 15% vaccination because they don't have vaccine or because the people won't take it?
Because they don't have vaccine, I think.
Right. Yeah.
And because they didn't act quickly enough to procure the vaccine and to buy it. This is the whole distinction between the EU and the UK, actually, in this. The UK actually found a person rather like Charity, this woman who just was asked, "Can you fix this?" Boris asked her, he knew her from someone else, and she said, "Sure, and she went out and given a massive budget. She went out and got it all. And
right.
That's how, so she saved the British in many respects. However, I wonder whether I want to be Australia. I wonder whether if your sole goal is restricting this disease and you have no other goal in mind, you could shut us all down, put us all in, but society can't operate like that.
I disagree that you're sort of posing it as a choice between freedom and health. And that if you but that's not the way this thing plays out. That if you let the virus run, you lose not just your health, but also your freedom, because people hide in their houses. I mean, the places in this country where the economy was less damaged, were the places where the virus was better controlled, and because there were more restrictions in place. So California did better economically than Alabama. And I haven't paid that much attention to Australia the last couple of months, but at least in the first wave, the first year, Australia had enormous freedom because they controlled the virus. People were going to rock concerts without masks. So it wasn't that, you can choose to either have your freedom or your health. It was you get both or neither. And if you let a really dangerous virus loose, you don't need the military to lock people inside their homes. Nobody's going to come out.
Well, they do now in order to prevent people from socializing or going on dates or any of the other things that make life worth living. They have the military policing these things. Also in the UK, they have they had very draconian social distancing and masking and all the rest of it. I'm count me skeptical about this. And I feel that...
Do you think skeptical in the sense that you really think that nothing could have been done? There was nothing strange about the United States having 4% of the world's population and 20% of the deaths. That you really think there's nothing to be done to at least bring the United States in line with the rest of the world, and that we were kind of doomed to end up in the position we were in, and that all the death was inevitable?
No, I don't think I'd go quite that far. I do think that the ability to take America and instigate a national, which is what you have to have, federal lockdown very, very quickly. Well, you have to do this very, very quickly. In fact, a matter of days at the beginning makes a huge amount of difference.
Yep.
And I just don't think once it had gotten once, for example, we had a whole bunch of US nationals coming back from China in the very early part of the epidemic, there was no way you were going to be able to control this, given how infectious and transmissible it was. You could have restrained it some more, but we did. I mean, also, if you look at 1918, there was no such massive attempt to shut down the entire society. That's new. What Charity was proposing, what other people were saying, never been done before in plagues, which is shut down the entire economy, keep everybody inside.
Shut down that's not what they were proposing, but to introduce some of these interventions they were proposing. And it does, California and New York make an interesting case studies, the difference to the outcomes. California and New York got to 100 cases at the same time. California shuts down, New York doesn't. And you have this carnage in New York that California escaped. The San Francisco Bay Area managed this thing about as well as any place in the country, and actually better than most other countries. And the disruption to the economy was, it was disrupted, but not nearly as badly as a lot of the
But
other
my
places.
point is that what you're saying actually sort of suggests my point, that the massive difference between New York and California, the way the federal system operates, the way
Yeah.
that Americans in particular are perhaps the least
But
organizable
it's
people.
that's exactly so. This is true that we are not organizable people, and it is hard to imagine with the society as it is now, someone standing up in the White House and getting everybody to behave in the same way.